Okay, I think we're live and welcome to the Become an Author and Explode Your Business webinar. I appreciate you being here. My name is Greg Moody, and I've been helping people publish books for many years now. At Red Publish, we published books about financial advising, martial arts, life skills, helping your kids. We're publishing books on helping people with their health, many other subjects. And we're going to talk today about a lot of different things. So I'm really excited about people being here today. And whether you're watching this live or on a replay, I think you're going to get a lot out of this, particularly for people that are in business and they want to help grow their business. If you're not in business and you want to write a book because you have other purposes, I believe this is going to be helpful for you as well. And we're going to go through a lot of things in the next 45 minutes or so. It's going to be a pretty short webinar today, and you should be seeing an offer for you to set up a time with me so that we can talk about your very specific needs and things that you want to work on. So you can take this, you can set up a time, and normally we would charge for this, but we're going to do this free for you. We've got a few other things that we're going to work with you on today, and you can set up a time to work on basically the content that we're talking about today and how this is going to apply to you specifically, since we can't do that for everybody that's going to be on the webinar today on an individual one-on-one basis. We've also got a few other things that we're going to give you today, which is a book that you can use. That's a great book that Tracy Thomas, one of my good friends, and I have written, called The Business of Becoming an Author. If you hang on, I'll give you a link so that you can get a copy of that for free. And it walks you through how you're going to be an author. But mainly what we want to cover today is how you can be an author, why you need to be an author. And let's just go through the agenda real quick and get right to it. So the topics that we're going to cover as we're going to go through is why it makes a difference whether you're going to be an author. So what's the reason you should be an author, why it's important to you in your business, mistakes people make when they think about doing a book. So if you decide, yeah, I want to be an author, what the problems people have when they're going to be an author. And it should be displaying here. Hopefully, I'm trying to get the slide working. Hopefully people are seeing that, and we're sharing the correct slide here. It looks like we're having a little bit of difficulty. Let me stop our share for a second, make sure we're getting the right screen going on. I'm going to do a little maintenance check here to make sure we're all on the same page and you're getting the correct content that we're supposed to be showing you. And I don't think we are, so I apologize about that. So we'll apologize for the shifting gears for a second here. And so during the webinar, occasionally we do have some technical difficulties, and we'll try to resolve these in a second. So anyway, why you need to be, as I'm doing this, I'll work on making sure I give you the right content. So why you need to be an author, what the important things are about being an author, what mistakes people make, and apologize about this for a second, guys. And bear with me. There we go. So we should have everything back online. And then how you can be an author, what the steps are that you're going to take to do this. So as we go through this today, I'm going to try another strategy here for you. I apologize again. There's a lot of things that you can that'll help you out with being an author. And what are some of the things that you need, why you need to be an author? So we'll start with that, why it's important to be an author. And why would it be important to be an author? Well, here's some of the things that may be reasons for you to be an author. And so as we do this, I'd like you to think about what are some different reasons. One of the reasons would be to get on the radio, get on YouTube, build a database as you're getting people on the radio. So you get on the TV and radio, so you would want people to be, you might be able to be, in my case, Greg Moody, author. I've authored 7 books. So I could do podcasts and interviews, and people would interview me, and for them to get to watch the interview or maybe watch the podcast, they might fill out a form, or they might get some content, or they might fill out a form to get my book. So I could build a database so that there'd be somebody that I could market to, somebody that would be able to influence my industry, or I'd want to influence my industry. Maybe I want to get a position in my business association. Here's a whole bunch of other things. I won't read all of them, but these are different pieces, different things that might be important to you. You may want to educate people. This would be an important thing. Maybe you want to impact people. All of these things should be things that have a specific return on investment for your time and money. Some people want to speak for a fee. Once you're an author, then people will take you more seriously. A big one here is build credibility. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Maybe you want to open a new market. If you're already working with a certain group, you want to work with another group, you want to market to a different group of people. Maybe you want to work with schools. Maybe you want to work with different organizations, and your book could be rewritten. One thing that people do a lot of is they'll write a book. Maybe it's going to be, we've worked with financial advisors. So they write a book on how to retire and comfortably, but then they might rewrite the book with some small variations and write it specifically for people in a certain niche, like for engineers. So maybe it's about retiring comfortably, and then how engineers can retire comfortably, and then maybe how medical professionals can retire comfortably, and then even more specifically, how chiropractors can retire comfortably, or how even could be urologists can retire comfortably, and it speaks specifically to that group. And then when you're marketing to that specific group, you can get that message is gonna have a resonation with that group, and you're gonna get a lot of business from that particular group. So you can niche down to a specific group. You're going to be the expert and the one that is their person, rather than be everything to everybody. And the general rule in marketing is, if you're everything to everybody, you're nothing to nobody. So you want to be the one that's an expert for a certain group. It's a lot easier to be an expert for a certain group than it is to be an expert for everybody. That's pretty hard. A couple other things that being an author is going to be important. And there's a lot more than this. If you want to get in the newspaper and write a newspaper column, who do they want to write a column? It's not going to be somebody that just says they're an expert, but if you're an author, that makes a big difference. I've been on TV quite a few times, and part of it is because I have written a book. You can see, if you search for me and videos, you'll see interviews with me. A lot of them are podcast videos I've done, so you have to dig into it a lot because there's a lot of video content on me. Becoming an expert's a big thing if you've written a book. So if you've written a book, it makes you an expert. Let me talk about that for a second. 2% of the population has, or 1% of the population rather, 0.1% has a PhD. So I have a PhD. I'm not trying to brag, but I'm just giving you that as a reference. 0.1%, so 1 in 1,000. 0.05% has written a book. So that means about 1 in 20 people relative to number of PhDs. So many more people have a PhD than have written a book. That makes you that gives you higher status from some points of view than people that have a PhD. So all the people that might be saying Dr. such and such or Dr. such and such, whether it's an MD or PhD or they have doctor in front of their name, if you've written a book, you have a little bit more status than them in some ways. Okay, puts you in a group that you could meet famous people. That might be part of your business that you need to do that. Let's go back to get better clients. So for one, there's 3 ways to make more money in business. One way is to get more clients, which your book could help with. The other way is to get them to buy more frequently. But the third way is to get them to spend more. So if you want clients, and almost everybody I talk to in business says they want clients that will spend more money or that are higher quality. Sounds pejorative because maybe you love your clients and you love the people that you have and you want to support people that maybe don't have as much money. But almost everybody I talk to wants clients that have higher income or that are easier to ask for money. It's easier to get them to spend more money with you. You know, if you're an author, then it justifies what you're selling a little bit more. Obviously, position yourself as an authority kind of goes along with what we talked about. Making money from book sales. Let's talk about that for a second. Making money from book sales is almost always the last thing you're going to care about. Most of our clients as authors don't care much about making money from book sales. You will make some money. We'll get you published on Amazon and other platforms. Amazon's the big one. If you want to be on other platforms, we can get you on other platforms. You can make money from direct book sales if you want. It's not going to be the biggest source of your return on your investment of time and money for being a publisher. Making money from book sales isn't that big a deal. What the big deal is going to be is all the other things that you're going to make money from. But you can make money from book sales. And occasionally there are clients that have a bestseller. There's ways to get on bestseller lists. Most of the time when people are bestsellers, they're not really necessarily making much money from books. Most people that make money from books are in a very, very, very small percentage and small niche. Even people that you know of and you know of as famous authors, a lot of them are not making very good incomes from their book sales. Telling your story might be an important thing. It might be relevant to your business, might help you get a job. If you're somebody who wants to escalate your profession, and even if you're watching this webinar and you want to get a higher level job, be a CEO, be somebody high up in your profession, this is a very good investment of your time and effort to be an author in the field that you want to move up in. You'll be the only one that's written a book in your field, is most likely. It might be some more sources of income. Free time. You could travel and have more free time because it might be something that you use and leverage in lots of other ways, like we mentioned, speaking, consulting, do other things like that, and so on. So you could do all kinds of different things. So the why you need to be an author is just a partial list of reasons why you could be an author. So maybe pick a few of these that would be the most important to you. All right. Let's go through the main reasons that you might need to be an author directly for your business. Let's talk, and this is why you would need to have a book in your hands. So one of the books in your hands, just published one today that one of our clients did. Here's one that I've got a whole bunch, all of our books I've got a ton on the bookshelf, some different books that we published for people in different fields. This is in the financial field, in martial arts field, all kinds of different books that we published. So one reason that you need to be an author is to have more content on the internet. Now let's talk about that a little bit and why you would care about having content on the internet. So why would you care about having content on the internet? And let me see if I can do this well on the drawing or on our whiteboard here. And we'll what you want to have on the internet, and I'll try to illustrate this without the whiteboard. What you want to have on the internet is you want to imagine a pyramid. In the pyramid at the bottom is going to be your website. on almost all marketing. Above the pyramid in any kind of marketing for whatever your business is going to be your online and offline marketing. Everybody's going to have some of that. Even if you were a primarily online business, there's going to be some offline marketing in a sense, because you'll have referral business and you'll have people that tell people about you and talk about you, at least to some degree. So even if you were a completely online business, you're going to have some offline marketing. And even if you were a completely offline business, you're a restaurant, or you're a completely brick and mortar retail business, you're going to have some online marketing because people are going to look you up. It's just the way it is. People have to look you up on maps. People have to find you. There's some way that you have some combination of online and offline. And for most of your business, it's a pretty equal blend, or there's some blend of these two things, offline and online. So either way, your offline marketing, people are going to look you up. Your online marketing, people are going to, if you're an online business, they're going to have some offline marketing. Either way, content on the internet is very important. The reason content on the internet is very important is that's what Google wants. There's something called our phrase that's been coined over the internet. It was first coined, we think, by Bill Gates, and he said the phrase "content is king." So you have to have lots of content on the internet. Most business owners and most websites, if you think of the website as the bottom of the pyramid, because that's what gets looked up. When you get looked up on the internet, people look up, what do they look up? Your website, and they look up whether or not there's a lot of content. So if you do an internet search for plumbers, you're going to get hopefully that plumber's website, if they did a good job on the technical pieces of their website, and if they did a good job on the on having lots and lots of content on the internet. And part of the content is that there's lots of it. Well, if you have a book, there's going to be content about your book on the internet. And nobody else in your field likely would have that kind of content. So it's going to be the second thing, which is relevant to your field. So if your book is about probably your field, that's going to be important. So a lot of it that is relevant and that it's recent, that you've written a book. A lot of our clients will do a book series. So they'll do a small book, but they'll do one every year. So they'll do a book every year. And I'll talk to you about how you can do that, so it's not that onerous of a project. So having content on the internet is the key to being able to dominate your industry. Imagine, again, a pyramid of marketing and having enough content. Now, you can layer more marketing on it. You could pay for Facebook ads or AdWords ads or other kinds of ads, depending on the type of business you have and what we recommend. And we help people in one of our other companies do all kinds of marketing. But as far as publishing a book, that's one layer of marketing that you can't replace. You just can't do it any other way. So having content is really important. So let's go back to what we were talking about before. One piece is content, and that applies to all the marketing that you do, offline, online marketing, any other marketing that you do. Another area is building authority. So what does that mean, building authority? Let's talk about that for a second. So building authority would mean that you are, I mentioned it a second ago, 0.1% of the population has a PhD. Some of you guys are high status in your field. For example, we work with doctors, or we work with people that are lawyers, or we work with a lot of martial artists, so they may be 8th degree black belts in their field. But when a consumer comes to you, let's say you're a doctor, and maybe you're a specialist, you might be a heart surgeon. They're coming to you because they looked you up on, they were referred to you, or they looked you up based on what insurance coverage you had. And you had the qualifications, you had the letters behind your name that you're an MD, and you were board certified in heart surgery. How does that make you different from any other person that's an MD that was board certified in heart surgery? And maybe you had a referral from somebody, because that gives you a little bit of social, proof that somebody referred you, their other doctor, your primary care doctor referred you. What distinguishes you from all the other people that are MDs, board certified in heart surgery? What distinguishes you? Maybe the number of years, maybe some other things. If you've written a book about how heart health is very important to your happiness and future future health, or you've written a book on some related topic, that's a pretty big distinguishing factor between you and all the other doctors that have the same letters after their name. Or if you're, let's say you're an investment advisor, and every investment advisor has these Series 7 licenses, or they have the certain certifications. What distinguishes you from all the other guys? Now you could say, well, yeah, because I'm better because I say this and I say this and I do this and I do this for my clients. Yeah, but they don't know that. You're going to sound like everybody else. They're going to say they're all better. And that's like a sales pitch. If you're a chiropractor and you say, yeah, we're better because fill in the blanks, it feels and sounds like a sales pitch. But if you're the person who wrote a book, if you're the person that has all those letters after their name, which frankly, most customers don't know, you're a martial artist, you're a X degree black belt, and you're a champion in this and that. The civilian that walks in the door doesn't know the difference between this style, that style, this type of doctor, that type of doctor, a DO and an MD, of this and that. But if you've written a book and all the other people just have those letters after their name, that's what gives you authority that the other people don't have. So authority, just from that point of view, a book gives you that. Now, that doesn't mean they read your book. That doesn't mean you're handing them the book and they have to read it. Just having a book. It doesn't mean that the book content is irrelevant or that you write a crappy book, or we're suggesting that. It just means that that gives you authority. I think that the example everybody can relate to is you go to a primary care physician and they all have an MD. They all have the same qualifications. And how do you tell the difference? This is the one that wrote the book on how to develop a long-term healthy lifestyle. And it was really exciting and interesting title. And that person's different. So they literally wrote the book on it. So let's talk about the next thing. And if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat. We have some questions that'll be popping up and I'll answer them. I know there's some questions popping up as well. So the other idea here is to be an influencer. Now, how is that different from an authority? So an authority is somebody who has that they look like an expert because they have this distinguishing qualification of being an author. That again, only one in thousands and thousands of people have written a book. 1 in 1,000 have got a PhD or an MD or a doctorate, but 1 in 20,000 or 30,000 have written a book. So it's very, very rare. Many people have thought of writing books. That's why you're probably on this call, but very few. And by the way, click the link and register for the time to set up with me as you're doing this. I'm going to give you a link to register or to get the free book in a second here. But make sure you click the link to register for the time with me so that way we can work on your individual content. So anyway, what's an influencer? So an influencer is going to be somebody who is going to have, is going to actively be talking about, and it gives you the ability to actively be talking about your content subject. So let's say you're back to, let me use the example of a doctor that's maybe you're specializing in heart health. You could easily talk about a lot of things related to people's health that they might be interested in. Maybe it's talking about exercise. Maybe it's talking about the best way for them to lose weight. That's a super popular topic. You would be then an influencer in how people behave in lots of other ways that might be able to then get out on the internet, be able to speak, be able to talk to people, get your message out in lots of different ways. So being an author allows you then, well, Dr. Such and Such is the person who wrote the book on this. There's a lot of content on the internet about him or her, and then she can be the one who talks about this and starts pushing content and information and podcasts and videos and all kinds of information out to all kinds of different organizations and groups. They want to hear from that person. Why? Because they're an author, and there's all this information on the internet and on all kinds of media about them. So that allows you to influence and help people make decisions. How does that help? Well, it helps your business because now when people are searching for you, when they're wanting your product, when they don't even want your product, but they want something similar, they're going to find you in front of them. So that's what an influencer is. Now, you might be thinking about internet influencers, and there's some relationship there. People make millions of dollars being internet influencers. That's probably not the direction you're going to head with this, but it gives you kind of an idea of what those people are. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what the direction is that you want to head. You'd be able to change people's minds, change people's ideas. The last thing would be status. It gives you some status that's higher than it's a little bit different than authority. Authority means you're an expert. Influence means you can change people's minds. And status means among the group of people that you're already in, among the doctors, among the advisors, among the industry people that you're in, you're the one that's written a book. You're the one that has this expertise, regardless of whether or not you're the best plumber in the group of plumbers. You're the plumber that has written the book. That gives you a different status level, so people will listen to you more. Your skill level I'm not saying you're not a good plumber, but your skill level then gets more attention. It will be assumed, it is assumed because you're an author that your skill level is better. In most cases, people's skill level is relatively consistent. Those primary care physicians all have the same training. They're probably all really good doctors, but if you're the one that had written a book, it's going to be assumed that your skill level is higher because you've got these other characteristics with you. So these are some reasons why being an author makes a massive difference. Think about it. Any kind of expertise you're looking for, any kind of service you're looking for, if everything's equal, but one's an author, that's the one that people are going to pay attention to, not the others. So that's what you're getting when you become an author. So you can see lots of ways that you can make this work. Now let's talk about some mistakes that people make. Go through a few of these. So when you're thinking about writing a book, hopefully this is a good idea in your head. Set up a time with me so we can talk about your project. Now, when we talk about your project, one thing that we'll cover is some mistakes that we might make. One mistake people make is starting with the title. They say, hey, I've got a great title for the book. Here, I'll show you one of the books from one of the financial guys that we did a book with, and it was Know Your Money, Secrets to the Best Retirement. He didn't start with this title. So he started with the content. He started with some other things. I'll go through what we started with first. But when you start with the title, I'll tell you why this is bad first, so I don't get out of order here. When you start with a title, then the content has to be written from this 1 or 2 sentence idea. Maybe I start with a title, best ways to build a foundation for a house. Then I have to write a whole book out of something that I wrote 1 sentence for. I may or may not be able to come up with ideas from that. I'm coming up with ideas from just a few thoughts in my head. It was 1 or 2 sentences. So that's always a mistake to start with a title. I'll go over the order that we would rather go from, but don't just get a title and go, yeah, I'm going to write a book about XYZ. It is always a fail. I shouldn't say always, but most of the time that's a fail. Starting with just an idea, same kind of problem. I've got an idea. I want to write a book about parents, how people parent their kids. That's usually a difficult thing. Again, same thing. You start with a small idea. It's hard to write a big 20,000 word book from that. You're starting with a little idea, trying to turn it into something big. So how do you write a book? So conceptually, that makes sense now, probably to you. If I start with a little idea and try to turn it into something big, it becomes really hard. Next idea. Most of the time, self-publishing it on your own is a difficult thing. And obviously we do publishing, so maybe it sounds self-serving when I tell you that, but I'll tell you what happens when you self-publish. It sounds like a great idea. Real famous version of this is the Chicken Soup for the Soul books that Jack Canfield wrote, and he self-published them because nobody would take his nobody would sell his books on the big publishing companies. And Amazon has self-publishing services, and they have videos and things you can watch. You can take it from me. I self-published my first book before I started doing this work for Rev Publish, and it took me about, and some of you guys that are watching this know me, it took me about 120 hours to get the first book done. That's about how long I would expect anybody to do the 120 straight hours to do that. It's a lot of work. So my recommendation in any situation, whether you use us or anybody else, it's much easier to outsource the publishing component of it. So it's still a self-published book. And I should say the corollary of this, self-publishing is very, very difficult to do. It's a lot of little technical details. You'll probably spend 50 hours just trying to get your cover straight. So it's very, very difficult. Even if you outsource the cover, they never do it right. So self-publishing is very difficult. The corollary of this, I should have mentioned, is trying to get your book done with a full-service publishing company like in the old days. In the old days, before Amazon and before the internet, what you do is you write a manuscript, and then the manuscript you'd submit to an agent. You give to an agent, and the agent would pitch it to Hooflin Mifflin and all these other companies out in the world. And if it was the best thing they ever saw, they would give you a deal, and the deal would be every time they sold one of your books, you get like 50 cents. And if you sold 1 million books, you'd make $500,000, but very few people sold 1 million books. So most of the time you wouldn't make very much money at all. Then you write another book and another book and another book. And if you were Stephen King or Tom Clancy or one of the big authors, you'd make a good living. And if you were 98%, 99% of them, you wouldn't make much at all. So getting an agent, if you're planning to be, one of those guys, that can be the right thing to do. But most of us aren't doing it for that reason that are watching this type of webinar. You're trying to have another business result for you. So there's the in-between is having a company do the publishing for you. So we can go through that when we talk. If it's the right thing for you to do it on your own or have another company, I'd be happy to share kind of the next steps with that. Okay, other mistakes. And then I'm going to share a book with you, and you can get a free copy of a book to walk you through how to do this. Writing forever. What I mean by that is when you write it yourself, there's a couple ways, and I'll go through how to ghostwrite it as well. Most people will choose 80% of books that are done for business owners are ghostwritten. And the reason for that is that you just don't have time to write it yourself. You're not a professional writer. And ghostwriters can take your idea and turn it into a really nicely written book, rather than you try to write and slog through how to do all the stuff and make the grammar and everything fit. So writing forever is what ends up happening. I can't tell you how many people talk to me about their book, then they go off on their own and say they're going to write it, and then 2 years later, they're still writing it. So be very careful of getting into this trap of saying, no, I want it to be my idea, and not either have a coach. We also do that. Coach you through writing the book, or have somebody write it for you. Those two options are the best. Have a coach to help you write the book, or have somebody write it, do a ghostwriting. And when you have something ghostwritten, remember it's never told. Nobody ever knows whether it's ghostwritten or not. Some of our books, the authors write, some of our books are ghostwritten, and you'll never know which one is which. We never tell anybody. Nobody ever knows. Next thing is two other things. Forgetting the audience. And we want to write the book with the audience in mind. We'll talk about that later. And then forgetting the purpose of the book. So you're writing the book, these last three things I'll talk about all at once. You're writing the book with a particular audience in mind and a purpose in mind, meaning I want to do this because I want to market my business. I want to do this because I want to build authority. I want to do this because I want to gain influence in my industry and my community, because I want to get on TV. I want to do these things. I have a business outcome, and I have in this last piece, a return on investment. I have an ROI I want to get. So I have these last three things are the most important things. And really, this is in backwards order. I want to write my book in the order of what's my return on investment I want to get from it, of my time and my money and the effort I want to put in for the book. What do I want to get out of this book? Not, I have this brilliant idea and I want to share it with the world. We can still share your brilliant idea with the world, but we want to do it first with the purpose that we want to get from that brilliant idea in the book. And that's going to determine what the purpose of the book is, and then who the audience is that we're going to be speaking to. So let's talk about the next piece. And before I do that, what I want to do is we're going to talk about how you can do this and how you can do it. And if everybody's registered for setting up a time with me, make sure you do this so you get the personal work with me on the book. Make sure you have set up the time so that we can talk about your particular idea, because I'm removing this offer right now. If you haven't done that, make sure you click on that link, because it's going to be gone in 3, 2, 1, and it's gone. So the next thing is I'm going to give you a free book. You can fill out this form. It should be up there live now to get the free author guide. So this is the book that I showed you. And normally this is, I think, 13, 14 bucks on Amazon. So we'll give you a copy of this. And this is exactly what we go through in our 4-hour workshop. In our 4-hour workshop, you go through how to write a book and everything from A to Z. So if you don't want to attend the workshop, I'll also give you a link to do the workshop, which is truthfully easier if you do the workshop, because I guide you through everything and I walk you through it, and you don't have to even worry about it. At the end of the workshop, you get a book package that you can either have ghostwritten or you can do it yourself, and you'll have an A to Z of doing it yourself. So either one of those is great. The book workshop is an awesome way to go. That's going to be on the fourth Wednesday of every other month. So whenever you're watching this, you can click on the link and register for it. We have one coming up in a few weeks, whenever you're at. But the book is the map for that. So you can do it all yourself if you like. So click on this. It's totally free. So everybody needs to do it right now. Click on that link while we're going through the rest of this. Anyway, so how to do this, how you can write your book. So what do you want to do to write your book? We'll go through this really quick. The first thing you need to do, and what we'll go through kind of the opposite of the mistakes, is we want to figure out what the book is about. In other words, what the purpose of the book is. And this is when I coach people through it, or we do the workshop, we go through what you want the outcome of the book to be. What are we going to get? We wrote the book. What's it for? Are we going to make it get you more clients? Are we going to make it get you more, get you on TV? Or are we going to have it get you another job? Then from that first list that we have, what's the thing going to do for us? And then from there, who are we writing this for? Is it for people in Europe that are in the train industry? Is it for people that are potential medical clients? Is it for people that are parents of kids? Who's it for? And what's their problems, and what are they worried about? And so we have to go through the process of that analysis. That's the most critical thing we do first. And we're going to go through that in detail. That's what the book has. So get the copy of the book. That's free, so you can get it right now. And we're going to go through that, and you have to do that first. And by the way, even guys like if you're doing a fiction book, and if you buy any of the how to write books by like Stephen King, he'll talk about this too. Who's he writing for? What's his audience? Now he's writing like horror books. So what's his audience? Who are they? They're not 8-year-olds. They're not teenagers. Well, some of them probably are teenagers, but he's not writing for that group. He's writing for a certain other kind of group. The guy who wrote, or the lady who wrote 50 Shades of Grey, it's writing for a different group. So though everybody's doing this, and they're writing for, in their case, selling books. In most of the people on this webinar's case, you're writing it for a different purpose. The second thing is going to be what the contents. Then we go into what the contents need to be. So once you know this and what the purpose is, then we can start narrowing down what the main topics need to be. We start with that. Again, not anything else, just what the topics and the information is in the book. Because we know what they're worried about, then we can answer the questions and the fears and what the problems they have are, and what their biggest concerns are about these things. If you were talking about parents of kids, what are their biggest fears? What are their biggest problems? And then we can start answering those questions. Then we would go to the title. So now the title is going to be something would be something more catchy. I'm going to randomly pick one of our other titles. Here's one: the East Harlem Guide to confident kids. So he's hitting confident kids. That's what he's writing this book for parents of kids. Parents would want confident kids, and he wrote it as East Harlem because that's where his geographical location is. So he's got he wants to market specifically to, he's in Manhattan, so East Harlem. So he wants to be the expert in East Harlem for parents of kids. So that's why his title's this way. The title's I randomly picked this out of my bookshelf of some of our authors. So this is what it's about. Now, notice his business logo is here too. And then the back has, now we're on to, I'll flip the cover. The cover design is very specific because what he wants to do is market himself and his business to the community. And then the back is all about his biography. So now when he wants to go speak at an organization that might be good for him to cooperatively market at, the cover's designed for that. Okay. Other pieces and other things you need to do on your book. There's a lot of these little details, and we can help you cover it when I meet with you. We'll cover this again. Get the time set up with me if you haven't already. You had a big chunk of time. You could set that up earlier, but get the book, and that's in there. It's in the book too to set up a time with me. Make sure you get the book. Getting an ISBN number. That's the Library of Congress number. That's on every book that's a legitimate book is going to have an ISBN number. If you see a book that doesn't have an ISBN number, it's not really a published book. So we have to acquire that for you. It's a little bit of a process to get it registered. You also want to always have books in ebook and paperback format in today's day and age. If it's not an ebook and paperback format, it's not really, I mean, it's a legit book if it's one or the other, but you want both of those content formats for any kind of book today. Let me say one thing about that. Some people are kind of on I talk to a lot of people and they'll say, well, but an ebook is, everybody's reading ebooks. Most people that say that they read ebooks, but ebooks have not taken over. It's still, I think it's 43% of people are reading ebooks now. It's not taken over at all. I mean, many people still read paperbacks. They just don't have as many bookstores because people can order them easily online. So paperbacks are still very strong, but you want ebook and paperback. And sometimes we'll even do an option of a hardcover in certain scenarios. So you can do a hardcover option with books. And again, in certain scenarios, that's valuable. If you'd like to send a book to a prestigious person in certain markets, maybe you want to send a hardcover book to principal of the school, or you want to send a hardcover book to a CEO of a company, and you'd like your book to have a hardcover version. Perfectly good idea. Then we'll do a hardcover version as well, and then you can produce those. Another thing that's very important is when you publish your book, there's two price settings, and we don't have time to go into a lot of detail on this, but you'll set your price online to the general public based on pricing strategies that we'll go through. They can be more or less. We can pick a price. When you buy them for yourself, they're very inexpensive. One of my books, this is one of my books, Stories of the Black Belts. This one cost me about $2.40 online with a full cover book, beautiful binding, all kinds of, really great stuff. It's about a 100-page book. That cost me very little online. I mean, for me to buy author copies, so I can buy, hundreds of them for a couple $100, and I can give them out just easily to people in all kinds of different situations. We give them out when we are doing outreach all the time. We'll give 100 books out all the time to an event or anything like that. So your copies of books are very inexpensive to get printed up. And then you can sell them. I could sell that for $100 if I wanted. I don't, but it could be for any price depending on your pricing strategy. So another thing that would be, we could do a whole webinar just on pricing strategy for books. Last thing would be marketing. Marketing is critical. Now, that doesn't mean we're always marketing to sell many copies of your books. We market for a lot of reasons. One reason is to market for, to get a lot of reviews for your books, for one thing. So when your book gets published, we just published one today. We're getting that information out to a lot of people so that they can buy a copy of the book and then review it. online so that it starts getting a lot of 5-star reviews. And review. We had one guy that published his book and his mom reviewed it, but only gave him a 4-star review. So we're very careful now. We've always been careful, but for some reason that it didn't get communicated to his mother that she needed to do a 5-star review, not a 4-star review. For some reason, she bumped him down a star, but you want to get a lot of 5-star reviews on Amazon and make sure the book gets reviewed all over the place. So lots and lots of reviews. That would be one way to market. The other way to market is what are you using it for your business purposes? And there's lots of ways we do author marketing. You can see here, we have a great system of 6 steps. So we do a big launch process, which is really second to none for anybody, including a publish announcement, a special announcement for pre-orders, an author interview, and all these different pieces of this, including a book release launch. So pre-release, we do a bunch of marketing. That's really important. During release and then after release, including like a writer showcase, as you can see here, and then an author influencer branding release. So there's just a ton of things, and all 6 of these things rather have press releases and content that goes out. So this is how we market, and so these are ways that you can get a massive bit of things out in the online and really even offline. This complements your offline marketing as well. Let's also do a I don't see any, I had a couple questions here. How do we get set up for the workshop? So I'm going to show you the workshop right now and make sure that you guys have the content for the workshop so that you can get registered for it. So the workshop is an easy way for you to get through this process and get from A to Z. I only have a few slots left for this, I think for this month. So if you get registered, depending on when you're watching this and whether or not we've already filled up, you'll get pushed to the next quarter. We'll be doing every 2 months, so you'll get pushed to the next 2 months. So if we've already filled up, then it'll be the following 2 months. The workshop is it's 4 hours. You really only need to do the first 2 hours, so that's not too critical. It's not too critical that you make the entire workshop. The first 2 hours are the most important part. Let me get this on the screen here. So the first 2 hours are the most important part. What you do is you're going to go from the idea, which could be zero. You could have 0 ideas at all of what you're going to do, to figuring out your audience and your purpose of the book, to coming up with content, again, even with 0 ideas, and then coming up with an outline and all the stuff, the guts inside of the book. Then we're going to come up with a title and go through all the marketing and process of it. You're going to do that, the content stuff, in the first couple hours. If you can stay for the other 2, we're going to go through marketing and the publishing process of it so that you can do it all on your own if you wanted to. If you want us to help you with it after that, we can. I always do a follow-up from it so that we can go, you and I, and at no charge, so that we can go through each step and what you're going to do next, and then help you decide whether you're going to have it ghostwritten or whether you're going to write it yourself. And some of our guys write it themselves. That's great. If we do write it yourself, I can coach you through each of the steps so that you can get the writing done and you don't go kind of crazy with getting stuck in a writer's block, so that 2 years later you're still writing the book, 3 years later you're still writing the book, and then you never get it done. Because the most important thing is to get your product out. It's not as important to make it perfect. And what's great in today's day and age when you do these books, if let's say Ken here, who wrote his book, let's say he decided he wanted to add 10 pages. We could add the 10 pages and then republish it, and it would be immediately available on Amazon, and every subsequent book would have the 10 pages in it. There's no issue. In fact, my book, one of my books, the Life Skills of Leaders, this is the original book from 2016. This is the book that's published now. So you can just evolve your books. You don't have to worry about them being perfect. Our goal is to get the book out in the universe so that you maximize your results, get a lot of feedback from it. And if you want to change it later, you can. Frankly, most of our people never change it, but the idea is to get your product out, get a good return on investment, get a good result from it, and you'll get, some of our guys have made tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars from the results they've gotten from their books, because they get more clients, they get more results, they get more authority, they get more influence, and they get higher status in their business for their work that they do. So that should be enough for you to want to be an author. Hopefully we've gone over the process today and gotten you a lot of valuable information. So let's wrap up. I hope that we've helped you decide you need to be an author, covered the mistakes that you may make, motivated you so that you can do it. 3 things you need to do: get the session with me. And if you're watching the replay, you can scoot back and get the session. If you missed that because you're watching this live, it's no problem. We're going to send you an email, and it's going to have the 3 options here so you can get the session. You can also contact us in the chat here while we're going on and get that if you haven't. And get the book. The book is free. There's no reason not to get it. Make sure you get a copy of it. And register for the Rev Author Workshop. You get a $300 discount. You can click on that right now, and that'll get you signed up so that you can do the next one that's coming up. And I know we are almost full with the next one that's coming up, so I want to make sure that we get as many people. If you're on this live, get registered for it so you get the spots before everybody else gets it. Let me see if I have any other last questions before. I know I didn't really answer the questions. Some questions are, how long does it take to get a book published? So one of the questions is, how long does it take to get a book published? We can get a book published within 90 days. Now that depends on whether or not you get your content to us. If we're having a ghostwritten, that's a pretty tight timeline. So the ghostwriting process would be, depending on the length of the book. If it's a short book, we can do just a small outline, it literally 5 sentences. And if it's a very short book, then we can send that to the ghostwriter. It doesn't take very long for the ghostwriter to give you chapter 1. When they give you chapter 1, then you approve it if it looks great. And we don't want you to approve it if it doesn't look great. Then they'll finish up the book, and we can possibly get a book done within 90 days. We have done that before. If the book's longer, then I'll work with you to get more content put in the book for the ghostwriter. So there's more seed content. So instead of just doing 5 sentences for a small book, we spend a lot of time. I have a book that's going to be 100 pages or 200 pages. Then we're going to spend, a few hours together writing content and putting content in the book. And then we'll send it to the ghostwriter so that they can have a lot of top content. And we record those sessions so the writer gets to see the content that you did and gets to get to know you a little bit from the videos that we do together. So the longer the book, the longer it takes to publish it. But you don't have to really do much work other than to have some conversations with me, and then we'll do the book. And if we're doing a book series, then we can do it at whatever speed that you want. That was another question we had. So it's kind of related to this, how to do a book series. We can do a book series of 1 book a year, 1 book every 6 months. And we can do that in a 3-book or 6-book series, whatever you like. And that's a nice way to do it, because what we can do is divvy up the time and energy and work that you need to put into it so that you can publish it over that time period. And what's great about that is you get book number 1 done. Let's say we do that book number 1 and it takes a few months to do that book. Then we plan out book number 2 a year from then. We can really relax, get the second book done, but we can start promoting book number 2 over the whole year after book number 1 gets finished. We have one right now, great book. It's by a guy named Marty Callahan. It's a wonderful book called The Hero's Journey, Act 1, and it's about Joseph Campbell's model of the hero's journey, but it's applied for parents and how they're working with their kids and how they can apply them to martial arts. And it's going to be a 3-book series. So he's got book number 1 done, and now we're getting started on book number 2. And once book number 1's finished, well, now it's finished, he can start marketing and getting people excited about book number 2 for a whole year. And then he's got another whole year we can get him excited about book number 3. So he's going to get the marketing benefit from that for 3 whole years. It's fantastic. And that's real easy. It doesn't take a lot of work. Well, I mean, it takes work to do the book, but it doesn't take more work to get the multiplicative benefit of the book series in the marketing of the book. So it's a great way to do it. So those were a couple of questions I had. Sorry, I don't have time for more questions. We've got a few more sitting here. I'll try to answer some more in the email responses. So thanks a lot for being here, everybody. Really appreciate the attendance at the webinar, and thank you very much. And I hope that this was valuable for you. Make sure you get all the benefits that we gave you, the book, the extra session, and the register for the workshop. And I look forward to seeing you guys at those events.